Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and this is my 1966 Mercury Montclair, which we'll be working on in today's video. So yeah, this is my latest purchase, a 1966 Mercury Montclair, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm completely out of my comfort zone with this thing. I'm used to little Japanese pickup trucks and not much else. So a big land yacht from the 60s is not exactly something that I'm super comfortable with, but it should be a lot of fun. Luckily, this barge, despite being 60 years old, does run and drive, and it's equipped with the 390 cubic inch Ford V8 right here, which has had a lot of recent work done within the last year by the previous owner. Bunch of gaskets and such. We've had new fuel system, new carb, and a ton of other little odds and ends that have been done to this thing to make it actually run and drive pretty dang good. It runs, drives, and stops most of the time, so that's about all I need from it. It's got a brand new exhaust and a ton of engine work, just like I said. And cosmetically, it's not too bad either. Other than the fact that these quad headlights do not work, not a single one of them operates. The front end is in amazing condition. The chrome is really preserved very well. There's not a lot of body damage on this thing. As you can see right here, there has maybe been some body work on this door. This is really the worst part of the car. It's white-ish compared to the bluish that everything else is. So I do want to address that. Taking a look around the quarters, she's not all rotted out, which is amazing for a 60-year-old vehicle. Coming into the interior of this thing, if you guys want to see more about this, I have another video from when I first bought this vehicle. But it's in really relatively good shape. A lot of it's there. It just needs a little bit of love. As you can see, on a lot of it, the surfaces are really dirty. There's mold on a lot of the surfaces, which I probably shouldn't be touching. But there's a couple little odds and ends, like, you know, old fabric just not really wanting to stick to anything anymore, and just this mold everywhere. So it really needs a deep clean and a few things addressed. The most significant thing that really needs to be fixed in here is the oil pressure gauge and the temp gauge, which both don't work, which I would love them to work, so we'll be fixing that in this video. And then otherwise just cleaning up this complete but otherwise kind of gross interior. So one of the great things about this car is that despite it being very old and definitely in need of work, it runs and drives pretty darn well. It has a couple hiccups here and there, which I think is just carbureted old engine. That's just how it goes. But otherwise, it drives really nice and smooth down the road. It's just an amazing experience to just one of these old land yachts just cruise this thing down a modern street. And I have a ton of fun driving this thing. So we're starting with pretty good bones on this thing, and I'm just gonna stop myself right there. Right after I finished filming this, I pulled in the driveway, turned this thing off, and we are now having a no start issue. Hit the key, it just clicks. We got no ignition. I've tried jumping the battery, I've tried charging the battery, we got nothing. There's a possibility that's a bad starter, but I'm hoping that we just have a bad ground or a bad connection somewhere. So first things first, let's start digging into why this thing is no longer running as good as I said it was. What I hope is happening right now is just that this main engine ground right here is bad. I'm looking at the cable right here and it's all frayed, corroded, and broken. I'm hoping that it's just not getting a clean current to the starter, and that's causing us not to be able to start it. I got a new ground that we can throw on here, replace that old one that's all busted up. Hopefully this fixes our issue and we don't have to dig into the starter. This ground itself is kind of crusty, so there is a possibility. It's also pretty loose, actually. I'm surprised it popped off that easily. Yeah, this is not looking like the greatest ground surface of all time here, so that itself could be our problem. But also, this little fray right here is just nothing we want to deal with, so we're going to get rid of this old cable. Got the grounding bolt all cleaned off. I had to file out the actual connection on the lead here just to accept it, because this is a pretty big bolt, but it fits now, and so we can just reinstall this. Hopefully this fixes our problem. Okay, I'm pretty confident with that new ground we got there. Throw this battery back in, cross our fingers that solved the problem. All right, give it a try. Nothing. All right, try this one more time with the jumper box. God dang it. So I can hear the starter relay, which is this right here, clicking. And when you connect the terminals, you can hear it clicking, but I think this starter might just be seized because we are getting no life out of this thing. Well, let the fun begin, I guess. Let's get this thing up in the air. Got her up in the air. On a big low car like this, don't take any risks. We got both jack stands and the jack here holding this thing up. And of course, we gave it a really good shake test. This thing's not coming down because if it does come down, it could kill you. It's very serious. Getting under here, you can see it's a bit oily, but here's our old starter. Just gonna get in here, disconnect the wire, take this old thing out. Here we go, got this thing out. It's all oily from, just the various leaks that this thing has developed over its 60 years of life. And that could be very well the reason why it's locked up, but this thing is locked up solid. So let's throw a replacement in there and just cross our fingers that this fixes our problem. Got our brand new starter here. Had to run to a couple parts stores to actually get it, so we've lost quite a bit of lights. So I'm just gonna thrash, get this thing in, and hopefully she's running before tomorrow. There's our new starter, got it installed. Let's hit the key and cross our fingers that this thing turns. Okay, I'm not gonna see if it actually starts all the way while it's up on stands, but I just wanna see if we get any life out of it. Hopefully that battery's got a charge. Yes! She cranks. Sweet, sweet sound. That's awesome. We can move on from that and get to working on other parts of this thing. It's a new day, and the next mechanical thing I had to fix on this was the fuel pump. The previous owner did install a new one. You can see down here, this is a new mechanical fuel pump. However, once this engine started getting up to temp, this fuel pump was really failing to move gas to the engine. It would start vapor locking, it would bog down, it would not have enough fuel. You'd give it gas and the engine would just die. You see what I mean? Oh, struggling up this hill. And she's dead. What was I saying about it running and driving great? And I've heard that this is a big problem with a lot of new parts like this. New mechanical fuel pumps, new starters and stuff like that really just aren't built to the same quality as the OEM ones. And I'm pretty sure that this one is faulty. I got under the car yesterday and solved that by installing a new electric fuel pump. Just a cheap little low PSI electric fuel pump that pulls gas from the tank when the mechanical one is getting overheated. I also threw in another inline filter and then new fuel line all the way up. This little electric fuel pump is isolated from the engine, so it's not going to get hot. And when this mechanical fuel pump starts getting overloaded, overheated, and starts vapor locking, this one will work to pull fuel from the tank and keep fuel going to our carb and keep this thing running. I did some simple wiring and wired it in so that the fuel pump activates when you turn the key on, and it's just going to run like a normal fuel pump would. With these headlights, I'm going to start by taking a look at this dimmer switch, which is down here, just held on by these two little bolts. If this switch goes bad, it can sometimes interrupt the entire system and cause your headlights not to work, or at least that's a theory. So I'm gonna pop this switch out and do a little bit of experimentation and see if we can get the headlights to work by jumping some of these connections. Looks pretty crusty. I mean, it's obviously very old. Oh, there we go. So this is a ancient plug, oh my God, and everything in here is very corroded. So let's try and jump a couple of these connections and see if anything happens. Okay, now I'm in here just gonna start jumping random connections on this switch. There's just so much corrosion on this. I'm gonna scrape it clean. And if you guys see anything, let me know. Essentially what I was doing there was just jumping these little connections right here. I scraped off some of the corrosion, but there's a bunch of like grease in here and corrosion and stuff. So obviously this switch was not engaging and that was interrupting the signal, but we did get some life out of these things. So high beams, low beams, everything works. I just got to clean up this connection and maybe it'll even work with the switch. We got the switch all put back together. Turn on the lights. I think that should just be high beams. Hey, look at that. And hit the switch here. Should just turn on to low beam, so that should just be the outer ones. Sweet. And just turn them off. Awesome. The interior of this thing is in pretty good shape. It just is old. Obviously, there's a lot of dirt in here. Then moving into the back, we got our classic mold problem right here. Some pitting on the chrome and then mold on the surfaces here. So we're gonna take care of that. We got some vinegar in a spray bottle that'll kill the mold. Gotta do the same for the headliner there. You can just see that it's been kind of a moist environment in here, and we got some stuff living in here now. So we're gonna get to work cleaning that up, and altogether just giving this thing a nice detail. For stuff like this rust, I don't know if you can see it too well, on the steering wheel, I've got just an SOS pad with the soap, and I'm just gonna scrub it like this until it looks new again. Under the hood here, I'm just gonna get to cleaning off some parts and then get a rattle can, spray a bunch of the old parts flat black, get it looking nice and clean. Got everything mostly cleaned up. Now I'm just gonna use some professional painting tools like this cardboard and some spray paint. Just paint the wheel wells and a bunch of little exposed metal parts. Make things look nice. Just a quick and dirty little job, but I really think it made this engine bay look way better. Just fogging stuff down with some cheap spray paint really goes a long way. Now that we got that sorted, I want to deal with our gauges. I tried but wasn't able to figure out how to get these OEM gauges to work. Really, I just want to be able to see my temp and my oil pressure. So I picked up this little Autometer 2-gauge pod where I can monitor the engine vitals. I think I'm just going to stick it right here, something like that. That being said, let's get to work plumbing these gauges in. I was lucky enough that all the ports are the right size on this engine, so didn't need to get anything outside of what was provided in the kit. There we go, we got these gauges bolted in, looking good. Now I don't need to rely on these unreliable / not working stock gauges, and they're not too intrusive, they don't look too aftermarket. I was able to bolt this right into some stock mounting points and it's seated very nicely. I think the white backed gauges look nice with everything else, and I'm pretty happy with this. Working on this door right here, you can see I already got started getting some of that old paint scraped off. Just used a razor blade and got rid of most of this flaking white paint right here. But you can see there's some different sort of primer under here, and then it stops at the door where the original blue paint is, and then there's just this strange flaky white stuff. So I've got all the stuff that I can scrape off with the razor blade already taken off, and I'm going to get some sandpaper, smooth this out. I'm not going to go for perfection here because we're kind of doing a patina build here, but I'm just going to smooth down these rough edges and then throw some new primer on here, and then we can paint match this. Got this door just quickly scuffed down. I didn't go crazy on it. There's still a lot of sanding scratches in here. The main thing was I just want to smooth out all the big imperfections, and then we're just going to fog this down with some primer and then a base coat. This car obviously isn't perfect. There's even some little rust spots and stuff like that. And again, we're going for sort of a patina look. And also, if anyone ends up ever repainting this entire car, they're going to go over and redo this whole thing again. So I just want to make this door look nice, match everything else. And step one of that is throwing some primer on there. This right here is just your standard Rust-Oleum Rattle Can Special. If you take your time with it and do nice light coats, it should be just fine. We got the door in primer. Again, nothing crazy on this. It's just a super simple, easy little scuff and shoot. And there's some imperfections in here, of course. This isn't going to be perfect, but once we get base coat on this thing, it's going to blend pretty darn well with the rest of the car. And the rest of the car isn't perfect, so we're not going for that. Now that we got this panel thoroughly masked off, I'm going over it with some rubbing alcohol just to take off any residue, oils or dirt or anything like that. All we're going for today is just a nice clean prepped surface to make sure our paint adheres nicely. Nothing professional here. We're doing this in the driveway on kind of a windy day. The sun's coming and going, and we're gonna just be using simple rattle cans. So nothing crazy today here for us. And sure, you can go the extra mile on something like this, get a paint gun, make sure you paint it in a nice controlled environment, and you can get a really nice result. But hey, I don't have that stuff. A lot of people don't. And we're just gonna try and get the best results we can for cheap and make this car look nice. All we're looking for here is just to match what's left of the OEM paint, just to make this door cohesive and look nice. Now the paint we're using right here is just your standard touch-up paint you can get out of a spray can. I just ordered this stuff online and I have no clue how good of a match this is gonna be. Again, this OEM paint is 60 years old and it's probably faded and changed in color a little bit, so we can just hope for an okay match here. And as you can see, there's some unprimed spots right here where I can sort of try and blend the color if it doesn't match perfectly. But really, we're just gonna try and do our best with this stuff. First coat here, we're just gonna go nice and light. It's kind of windy, so we're just gonna work with what we got here and get a nice base on this. I'm pretty shocked with that. Other than the luster, obviously the OEM one has some more shine. That is really a very good color match. I'm pretty happy with that. The shadow is kind of making it look worse from your guys' angle, but taking a look at that, that is pretty dang close right there. And all I'm gonna do now is just blend it. Basically what I mean is just use the can to feather in some paint here, and you're not even gonna notice the transition. Now that the paint has dried, this is really a phenomenal color match. I challenge you guys to see the line here between the OEM paint and the new paint. It was really a good job. I was also able to preserve this patina right here just with some simple masking. So we got the patina look and we got a nice color match door. Sometimes touch-up paint can be kind of hit or miss. If any of you guys are curious, I am using Touch-Up Direct stuff right here. One can did this entire door and part of this panel right here. It's been a couple days, the paint is completely dry on this thing, but it's just totally filthy, so let's give this thing a nice wash. Got this thing nice and cleaned off. Before we take the next step with what we're doing with the paint on this thing, we got to make sure this thing is completely dry. So while we're waiting, let's throw some yellow tint on these inside headlight beams. I think it just looks really cool on these quad headlight cars, and it'll give it kind of a nice custom look. Start by just getting the surface of this nice and clean. Just using a heat gun to get the surface nice and warm. And then we just stick on the film kind of roughly where we want it. So as for paint on this thing, I've kind of gone back and forth, but I've decided that I want to preserve this patina. This car has lasted 60 years like this, and it's kind of got a really unique look. It looks really nice in my opinion, so I do want to preserve it. And I'm going to be using the Vice Grip Garage Shine Juice to do this. And this is completely reversible. If anyone in the future ever wants to go back and paint this car properly, they can do that. But at least for now, it'll give us a nice matte sheen over all the patina, shine this car up, and seal everything in, so it won't get any worse. Application of this stuff is very simple. Basically just wipe on, just pouring some in this cup right here, and honestly you might not want to do this in direct sun like I'm doing right now, but the sun's kind of coming and going behind the clouds, so we'll just go for it. Then just get an applicator. I'm using the rags that they provide in the actual box and just wipe it on. And this right here will give you kind of a matte sheen over all of your surfaces. You can just wipe this on to paint, you can wipe this on to clear coat, and it will seal everything in, protect it, and keep it looking nice. Sort of gives your paint that kind of permanently wet look, and it does fade out a little bit after it dries. It doesn't stay as glossy as it is right now when you're wiping it on, but you can see the difference it makes on the patina right here. It really darkens the color, makes it look wet, and you can wipe it right over the faded OEM paint to give it a little more luster. And there we go, that right there is half the hood done, and you can see the difference between this side and this side right here. Looks pretty nice, and it's a great way to preserve these patinaed surfaces without letting them get too out of hand. I don't know if you guys can see this too well, but the difference between here and there, it's sort of, this product right here acts as kind of a wax or a polish. So instead of just waxing your car or polishing old faded paint like this, it sort of restores a little bit of luster to it. You can see how it changes the color as if you had polished it or waxed it, but it does it much faster. And again, this isn't a super permanent solution, but it'll last a good few months and it'll look good, and this can be constantly reapplied to keep this car looking sharp. Last little touch for this thing is these wheels. As much as I would like to get a nice set of aftermarket wheels, that's just not in the budget for this project here. So we're stuck with these old, I think they're Crown Victoria wheels right here. I'm just gonna scuff them down, throw a new coat of white paint on them. I think that's gonna complement the blue nicely, and then I'll bring them around, make them look fresh, and hopefully give this car the last little touch it needs. Got a couple coats on there, then we're just gonna throw some clear coat on this. If anyone's curious, this is just some leftover touch-up paint that I use on my dad's truck. So if anyone's wondering, this is Dodge Ram White. This is just stuff I had on hand, and I'm just working with what I got to make these wheels look a little bit better. Also, this is automotive grade stuff, a little bit nicer than stuff you get at a hardware store, so hopefully it'll hold up a little better. And there we are, everybody. We got this 1966 Mercury Montclair looking sharp again and running. I was actually able to drive it here when not too long ago it didn't even have enough guts to drive up car ramps. The fuel pressure was so low, so that new fuel pump definitely helped us out here. I think just painting the wheels that were on here turned it around a ton. I love white wheels, and it really makes the wheels look completely different with the fresh coat of white paint. They look awesome. The Shine Juice really brought this gorgeous patina around. We were able to paint match that door pretty darn well. And of course, this is not a showroom restoration, but this thing looks awesome. I'm really proud to be able to cruise this thing around, and I think it looks great. On the inside of this thing, we just had to do some simple decontamination, clean it up, and it's looking awesome. Obviously, there's a little bit of wear on things, but this is a super complete interior. The headliner used to be disgusting. Now it looks pristine. This is an awesome place to be. Super fun car to drive, and it looks great. Let's just take a nice walk around this thing and appreciate all the work we've done getting this thing to where it is now. The paint looks great for being original, and I'm really happy with how this car turned out with not even too much effort. All we had to do was get our hands dirty, get under this thing. We had to do a couple little mechanical things, but they were simple fixes. I don't even have a garage. I did all this stuff outside in my driveway. So if I can do it, I know you guys can too. Go find yourself a cool classic like this or just some sort of fun project car and enjoy working on it. If you guys are interested in how much I spent on this project, I'll make a full breakdown in a later video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.